I love this image here. Peru and Egypt. Look at these blocks. It's like they stacked them like marshmallows. Well, they were softened somehow when they stacked them, so it makes the seams all fit together very nicely. But then here in Egypt, this is on a pyramid that it's also a pyramid I've never heard of before. Not the Great Pyramid, but this is on the casing stones on the outside where they made the wall, and they were able to go over it somehow with some technology and smooth the surface of the blocks to be perfectly flat. Who does this? Why would you move a block with that much more material on it, weighing that much more, and then you have to cut it off after it's stacked? I mean, this just suggests that whatever was going on here is beyond what we're even able to really comprehend. They were using some kind of advanced technology that we've yet to discover. And again, Mandela affected history. I've never heard of this stuff. Never seen this image before. You would think someone would have pointed this out at some point in the past. Now I'm going to get into the really, really mind-bending stuff. This is called Yangshan Quarry in China. I've never heard of this place, and the size and scale of what they're talking about here is beyond comprehension. This structure here, this cut block, is out of the side of a mountain. They were planning to move a 16,000-ton stone block to make a statue. And supposedly it was done in the 1500s, but they abandoned the project because they decided it was just too heavy. Okay. And here you can see how they're cutting out underneath this block, and there's several of them. There's at least three pieces of stone that they were going to cut. And the number that they mention most often is the 16,000 ton piece that they were going to move, but that's actually one of the lighter pieces. Here we can zoom in from the air. That would be this piece here, 16,000 tons. They were going to move it as one piece of stone. It would have been almost as big as the Statue of Liberty had they completed this monument. Now, the stone slab behind, they were also planning on cutting and moving, and I guess lifting upright. And there's another piece to the left that's not in this frame, but this is just mind-bending. And I'm not sure if you're able to see here on this previous slide, nubs. What are these nubs sticking out? Same kind of nubs sticking out of some of these blocks in the walls in Peru and Egypt. Now this is also bonkers. This obelisk was abandoned. They were going to move it, and I'm not sure if you can see some of the people down here, like ants standing on top of it. It weighs some 1,400 tons, and they were going to lift this thing up and out of the stone quarry that it's in and set it up somewhere. But it developed a crack, so they abandoned it. And it's made out of granite, so that's the other thing. Like, how are they cutting this stuff? Stone, like hammers and chisels? I don't think so. If you look really closely, it looks almost like they were scooping. Somehow they were able to soften the stone and scoop it out, like ice cream. I don't know how else you explain this. It's nuts. You went to that much work with hammers and chisels and abandoned the project? But those guys were ticked. Now I can just keep going through just a lot of these images that I'm seeing of stuff that I've never seen before. These are called rock cut tombs in Turkey. They did all that just to make a little entrance for a tomb there. and these stairways, and how much material they had to remove just leading up to the entrance. It's crazy. The thing is, yeah, sure, conventional means maybe they were able to do it. I've never heard of this. Never seen it before. More of these things in Turkey. Apparently there's a lot of them. This is in Japan, some quarry in Japan. Who's making cuts like this in a mountain to quarry stone? Cusco. More of these. So, these are all over the world now too. Some of these are in India, where they're making these square cuts and doorway entrances. Some, and they call them tombs, rock cut tombs. Oh, they were just, this is the way they buried people. But very similar, and the world around, you can find works like this. This is in India. And this is the Sage Wall in Montana. You can see the similarity of some of these stones. They look like some of the walls in Cusco. They call this a lava dike, and they say it's natural, but I don't know about that. And here's an example of something that I was not really able to find any evidence for on a Google image search. It looks real, but I don't know where it is. I couldn't find good information on it. Same with this image. This is supposedly from Austria. It was featured on the YouTube channel History Mystery. It looks real, but again, I can't find much information on it. And that's how these things seem to be appearing in our reality. I'll see an image, and I wonder if it's real or not, if it's AI generated, and next thing you know, I'm seeing YouTubers walking around these structures, filming them, talking about them, but at this point, this is all that I could find. So in the near future, if you start seeing videos about this structure in Austria, and they don't know who did it, how they did it, when they did it, that's how I think this Mandela effect appears. It's just gradually over time, you'll see a few images of something new that you've never seen before. Next thing you know, it's on YouTube. People are covering it, walking around it, touching it, filming it, asking questions. And I can't talk about all this Mandela-affected history without mentioning Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. I've never heard of this site until 2018, something like that. It starts coming up in, news articles and YouTube channels. And they say this place is some 11,000 years old, predating everything we know about ancient civilizations and what they were able to do. Older than what they say the pyramids are and everything, all those ancient structures. And on top of that, you can see how intricately carved and moved and positioned all these megalithic stones are, from supposed hunter-gatherers at the time who built all this and then intentionally buried it. And they say this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's there. Like, the whole complex is much larger and deeper if they were to excavate the entire site. This is wild. I mean, this seems to rewrite, the whole historical narrative of our ancient human history. And, if you're ever heard of Graham Hancock and the Ancient Apocalypse series that's on Netflix, they cover this site and others. There's season 2 out now, which some of the stuff I've been showing here might be on season 2. But that's the thing. A lot of stuff just seems to keep populating, keep showing up, and it's showing up faster than some of these people like Graham Hancock are even covering them. It seems like more and more of this stuff just seems to appear out of nowhere. Here's more of these rock-cut tombs, which, really? That's a tomb? Set the body on upright, I guess. And I'm not able to find much information on these pictures. Where are they from? I think they're real, but just the Mandela effect has not brought this completely into our reality yet. But in the near future, I'm thinking it'll be here. There'll be, like I said, YouTubers and documentaries covering this stuff. And right now, all I can find are a few scant photos. And there's a lot of things on the island of Sardinia now, which what these people were doing back then seems really bizarre, making these intricate cuts into the stone. And the other Mandela effect about Sardinia is I remember the entire island being a fraction of the size that it is today. Sardinia is almost the same size as Sicily. Did you know that Italy had 2 islands that are almost the same size? That's not what I grew up with. There was Italy and Sicily were the 2 main land portions of that country. All right, now I'm going to briefly play this video from a YouTube channel, Universe Inside You. And he covers the phenomenon of dolmens worldwide. Have you ever heard of a dolmen? I've never heard of it before. But it's these ancient structures that they're not really sure, what they were built for. They think they might be tombs, but
dolmen was carved from a single giant boulder. This method of construction demonstrates remarkable skill and precision, suggesting that the builders possessed advanced stone-working techniques for their time and possibly the use of some kind of machinery.
Drill cores, it looks like.
At the entrance of the dolmen, we can see the remarkably smooth surfaces and straight lines forming a rectangular cut. Achieving such precision with primitive tools would be nearly impossible.
Peru,
as you can see,
Egypt,
the wall is perfectly polished. On the Russian website, dopatopa.com, we found an article on the Volkansky dolmen, which includes close-up photos revealing that there are small inclusions of oxidized iron on the front wall of the dolmen. And if we look closer, we can see an interesting pattern on the surface. What caused these intrusions is still unknown. The Volkansky dolmen is generally believed to date back at least to the early Bronze Age, around 3000 to 2000 BCE.
Never heard of. Again,
however, the remarkable construction techniques and precision typically associated with ancient burial practices.
So they're showing these things
in North Africa, particularly in countries like Morocco and Algeria, dolmens are also part of the rich archaeological landscape. The Middle East, with its extensive history of ancient civilizations, also features numerous dolmens. In Jordan, for instance, dolmens are scattered across the countryside, often located in remote and rugged terrain. While less common, dolmens can also be found in North America. The dolmens in the northeastern United States, for instance, are often smaller and simpler in design but still represent significant archaeological interest. These structures add to the global narrative of megalithic construction and the cultural connections between ancient peoples. Even in regions like the Pacific Islands, dolmens are part of the broader tradition of megalithic architecture. These structures, though not as extensively documented, stress the ingenuity and adaptability of ancient builders across diverse environments. But let's get back to the Caucasus region of Russia and its neighboring countries. What may surprise you is...
So I got to add another quick blurb here from Graham Hancock on
Göbekli Tepe, 7,000 years older than Stonehenge. Incredibly sophisticated site, very large scale. Basically 50 times as much as they've already excavated is still under the ground. That there's hundreds and hundreds of giant stone pillars that they've identified with ground penetrating radar. He's not even sure if they're ever going to excavate them. But by all accounts, we are looking, if we take what's still under the ground into account, we're looking at the largest megalithic site that's ever been created on Earth. And it pops up 11,600 years ago with no obvious background to it. But to me, that's immediately a rather puzzling and an interesting situation. And I would be remiss as an author and an inquirer into these matters if I didn't take great interest in that. The sudden appearance, 7,000 years before Stonehenge, of a megalithic...
All right, now I got to highlight this short from Stargate Voyager. And he is pointing out what I remember here on the left, how you build a column. You stack up drums, and then you shape it the way you want it to be. Finish it however. Now this on the right
It's a dynastic Egyptian pillar made in sections, sandstone. You can see
sandstone.
Hieroglyphs are quite weathered and crude.
It's easy to work with.
And here's a rose granite pillar made from one solid piece of rose granite.
Why are they standing side
Precision
by side?
embedded symbols.
If they had such great technology,
This thing is
why even bother
incredible.
with a sandstone drum pillar? And rose granite is so much harder. It's 6, 7 on the Mohs hardness scale, whereas what diamond is 10. You're not cutting this with hammer and chisel. You're not going to make it look like that. All right, lastly, I got to point out this. This is in Thailand. It's called Khao Klang Nok, and it looks like a pyramid. And now here's the thing. I've spent a lot of time in Thailand. I've had a lot of experience going back and forth, from the States to Thailand. I know a lot about the country. I lived there for a year. People like to brag about all the cultural sites there are to see in that country and ask if you've seen this yet. Have you seen that yet? Have you been here? Have you been there? No one has ever mentioned this place. It is the largest ancient structure in Thailand, and everyone I've asked about who are from Thailand, they have yet to have heard about this place. They have no idea. And it just was accepted as a UNESCO World Heritage Site within the past year, and so many people have never heard of it. My opinion, Mandela affected history. It's just appeared out of nowhere. Of course, there's a timeline for it. It's been accessible since the 80s, and it's been excavated for a long time, and people have known about it from this timeline. But yet, there are many people who are like me, have grown up and never heard of this place, never seen it, never seen pictures of it. And yet there it is. The other thing is that it has the nickname of the Great Pyramid of Thailand, which if there was ever a Great Pyramid of Thailand, I would have known about it. I would have gone to this place. I've been to all the other ancient sites, Sukhothai, Ayutthaya, the ancient wall around Chiang Mai in the north. I could go on and on and on about this subject. How there appears to be a new version of history that's just appeared in the history books, and it seems to be suggesting there was an ancient worldwide civilization that used advanced construction techniques that we have yet to discover and find out about. Look, all these nubs sticking out of blocks. Machu Picchu, Cusco, yeah, and in Egypt and other places, China, Russia, Sage Wall in Montana. Well, that would be a subject for another video. So anyway, hope this is informative. If this resonates with you and you think this is Mandela affected history, I'd love to hear about it. Go ahead and put it in the comments. Thanks.